That dresser top has a bubble in the veneer the size of your palm, right where somebody's been setting glasses down for 80 years, and it gives a little when you press on it. You've probably already decided the fix is to peel that whole sheet off and start over. Here's what you don't know yet. If that dresser was built before 1950, the veneer's laid down with hide glue, and hide glue never stops working. It just goes to sleep. Add heat and moisture, and it wakes back up, soft as the day it went on, and lays itself flat. You're not gluing anything new. You're remelting glue from 1930. So before you pay a refinisher $40 or $50 a drawer front to strip that veneer and lay new, or decide the dresser's headed for the curb, the glue holding it down hasn't failed. It's just cold. I'm Artie Sterling, 30 years teaching high school shop, 10 before that as a finish carpenter, and I've laid down more lifting veneer than I can count. Now here's why that works. Because it'll change how you look at every piece of old furniture in your house. Hide glue is made from animal collagen, hooves, hide scraps, boiled down, and cabinet makers used it on furniture for about 4,000 years because of one property no modern glue has. It's reversible. Warm it and dampen it, and it goes soft and tacky again every single time, forever. That's not a flaw. That's the whole design. A chair leg glued with hide glue can be taken apart and re-glued 100 years later without tearing up the wood around the joint. Furniture makers built that in on purpose because they expected their work would need fixing eventually. It's also part of why the veneer itself on an old piece is thick, sawn by hand at close to 1/16 of an inch, not the paper the rotary mills slice today. That thickness is what makes it survivable. You can iron it, flex it, and clamp it without ever punching through to the wood underneath. Then, sometime around the 1950s and 60s, the furniture industry switched over to synthetic glues, PVA, contact cement, urea resins, because they're faster and don't need a heated glue pot sitting on the bench. Those glues are strong, but once they've cured, they're done. Heat won't wake them back up. So the very first thing to figure out, before you touch that dresser with anything, is which glue you're dealing with. Rough age of the piece is your best clue. Pre-1950-ish, probably hide glue, probably reversible. Built after about 1960, it's almost certainly PVA, and on a lot of newer furniture, what looks like veneer is actually a printed foil the thickness of a sheet of paper, which an iron will scorch straight through. If you're not sure, test a hidden spot first, inside a drawer opening, underneath the case, with low heat, before you go near the top. Assuming you've got the old stuff, here's the job. Get a cotton cloth, an old one, not a good one, and get it barely damp, not dripping. Lay it over the bubble. Set a household iron to medium heat, no steam, about what you'd use pressing a cotton shirt, and work it over the damp cloth in slow, moving circles. Never let it sit still, and never let it touch bare veneer. A few seconds. Lift, feel the wood. A few seconds more. What you're waiting for is the veneer starting to go a little soft and rubbery under your fingers. That's the hide glue underneath it waking up. You'll likely get a faint animal glue smell off it too, a bit like a wet dog. That's normal. That's just what hide glue does when it warms, and it means you're doing the job right. The moment it goes soft, get the iron off and press that bubble down flat with your hand, working from the edges toward the middle, chasing any air or moisture out ahead of you. Then, and this is the part people skip, lay a flat scrap board over it as a caul and weight it down hard. Books, a bag of sand, a couple of bricks. Leave it overnight. Heat without weight does nothing. The glue has to cool and set back up under pressure, or it'll just lift right back up by morning. For a stubborn bubble that won't lie down no matter how much you press it, take a sharp blade and score it open right along the grain, never across the grain. That'll show forever. Work a little fresh hide glue or wood glue into the slit with a thin piece of card or a syringe. Press it out toward the edges of the cut with your thumb. Wipe off whatever squeezes out with a damp cloth, and call and weight it the same way, overnight. And if it's not a bubble but a lifted edge, a corner curling up off the case, work the old dried glue out from underneath with the tip of a knife. Get a little fresh glue into the gap and clamp it down with a caul and a strip of tape or a clamp until it's dry. Once you understand that hide glue is asleep and not dead, you start seeing it everywhere. The veneer curling on the front of an old tabletop radio, the lid of a wooden steamer trunk with the corners popping up, a piano cabinet with a strip lifting along the music stand, a drop-leaf table where the leaf edge has bubbled from 40 years of humidity swings, a card table with the corner trim curling loose. Every one of those is the same iron, the same damp cloth, the same overnight weight. And once it clicks, a whole category of furniture that looked like an expensive fix turns into an evening's work. I had a girl in my shop class years back, sharp kid, who brought in a jewelry box her grandmother had given her. Veneer bubbled up clear across the lid. She figured it was ruined and wanted to strip the whole top and refinish it plain. I told her to bring in Peg's travel iron instead. Took us one class period to work that bubble down flat and a clamp overnight to set it, and the grain pattern her grandmother had picked out 60 years before was sitting there whole the next morning, like nothing had ever happened to it. She teared up a little over it. So did I, if I'm honest. So why doesn't anybody tell you this? I don't think anyone's hiding it. A furniture shop makes its living stripping and relaying veneer, and a hardware store makes its living selling you a bottle of contact cement, and neither one of those is wrong to reach for when the job actually calls for it. It's just that warm it with an iron you already own doesn't put a dime in anybody's pocket, so there's nobody with a reason to say it out loud. It just quietly stopped getting passed down, the way a lot of this has. Now the honest limits, because I'd rather you hear them from me going in. If veneer is actually missing, chipped out, gone entirely, that's a patching job, not this one, and it's a harder afternoon than what we covered today. If the veneer's gone brittle and it's cracking into little flakes when you press on it, it may not survive being flattened back down at all, and forcing it can do more damage than the bubble ever did. If the wood underneath is swollen or soft, because water got into a piece with a particle board core, which is common on anything built after about 1970, no amount of ironing fixes that, because the problem was never the glue, it's what's underneath it. And if what you've got is a genuinely old, genuinely valuable piece, get somebody who does this for a living to look at it before you touch it. Hide glue is about as forgiving as glue gets, but a botched amateur repair can still cost you real money on something that's actually worth something. A couple of safety notes. That iron is just as hot as it's always been, so keep your fingers off the plate and mind where the cord is running. When you're scoring that bubble with a blade, pull it toward you in one slow, controlled stroke instead of pushing it away. Keeps it from skating sideways on you, and keep your other hand well clear of the line. And use an old cloth for this, not one you care about. Hide glue leaves a residue behind, and you don't want that iron going anywhere near your shirts afterward. That's the whole job. No stripping, no new veneer, no trip to a shop. A damp cloth, an iron you already own, and the glue that's been sitting under there since before either of us were born. Go take a look at whatever's been bothering you in that spare room. The dresser, the trunk, the old radio cabinet nobody plays anymore, and see what's actually just asleep under there, instead of ruined. Then come down to the comments and tell me, what's an old trick your father or grandfather taught you that you still use today? I read every one of them. Keep it simple, keep it cheap, and do it right the first time. The folks who built the furniture in this country knew that, and we're going to remember it together.